those dinosaurs ate up a good bulk of my summer, and the continuity of the franchise left me with a splitting headache. Which is probably why it'll be quite a while until I decide to tackle another Spielberg-directed and or produced thing. At least until next month. So for now, I'm just going to cover a couple of Patreon requests until I can get back on my feet. And this one comes from Cody Klusner. With his ongoing patronage, he was able to get a flick of his choice covered right here on the show and future seasons onward. I'd like to thank him, considering the fact that whatever he digs up is always interesting to talk about. Regardless of being good or bad, there's always something of intrigue to dig up. So for that, thanks. Especially given what I had to go through for the past 6 episodes. At least it's a decent change of pace. I hope. But that doesn't matter here nor now. Just thank you. If you want to be just like him and get a flick for your choice covered right here on the show, go over to my Patreon page, make a donation, I'll try to see if I can squeeze in at some point. Keep in mind, scheduling and mileage may vary. So, with that said, are we dealing with an obscure gem, or a migraine the size of Milwaukee?
Hey, Vern, I just saw this movie. It's called Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam. It's really good. It's about this doctor named Otto, and he's got this gloom beam. It's this thing that zaps computers, and he's got this changing coffin that changes him. And there's this guy named Lance Sterling who's trying to stop him, and there's this monster named the Dump, and there's this cute little robot called Slave Willie, and there's ghosts and pirates, and it's really neat, Vern, especially the part I'm in. But you know, Vern, I think you'd like it a whole lot better if you saw it at the theater. Know what I mean? Coming soon. Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam in a couple of desperate theaters near you.
Sure! I should start off by saying I am not the right person to cover anything related to Ernest P. Worrell. I don't hate Ernest or despise the actor Jim Varney, but Ernest is one of those pop culture icons that never quite deeply attached to me, the same way the Muppets or Pee Wee Herman did. It's fair to say that my exposure to Ernest kind of flew under my radar as a kid. There were too many other things I was focusing on. But when I gave Ernest a chance as an adult, I found him irritating, yet charming. I think this clip sums up my opinion a little more better.
Howdy, Vern. This is some dadgum nice house you got here, Vern. That's Vern.
From the impression I got, Ernest was this adult who had a childlike mentality and thinks he knows it all when he doesn't. I didn't quite get it, but over time, there were some things I did appreciate that have grown on me. Ernest is not a malicious or cynical person, just an average guy who never grew up. He's a goof, but means well. And at the very least, I do respect the 110% effort Jim Varney is putting into this character. This is a guy who was dedicated to theater work, even to the point he did Shakespeare. So I can't get mad at someone who is very passionate about what he enjoyed doing. Just being a character actor.
I just wanted to reset your alarm so you wouldn't miss that big sailing boys down at Stinger's Ford. Just put that Good night.
I'm a bad dream. Here I am again. I'm that meatloaf.
Now his first movie, on the other hand, trying to get me to like it is a bit of a stretch. No, not that one. Though, truth be told, if I had to be honest, I am pretty tempted to revisit that one at some point in the future. Not this future, but maybe the next. Though, funny enough, the first Ernest movie that was released to theaters had barely anything to do with Ernest at all. It really says a lot when you have a hard time trying to find production trivia on a movie this obscure. Dr. Otto in The Riddle of the Gloom Beam feels more like a vehicle for Jim Varney's acting chops, and it shows. The guy has a lot of good range, but there's only so much one can do with a weak script and extremely low budget. Now, to the credit of the production crew, they tried, given this was an independent movie. Made for $800,000, Dr. Otto never got a wide release outside being limited to theaters in Texas and some Midwestern states. With a range like that, it's fair to say Dr. Otto was not a big hit. Though it does make you wonder what the premiere in those states would have looked like.
The whole neighborhood is riveted with excitement about the world premiere of Ernest's new movie. Stars from all over the neighborhood are arriving in droves, seething with rapt anticipation. There's no business like show business, what can I say? You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $5 goodbye.
Quick, cut to something random that summarizes my thoughts.
Who the f*** is this guy?
Yeah, that'll work. But akin to, say, the rough draft of a manuscript or college essay, it's fascinating to see where the traditional staples of an Ernest movie stemmed from. On that note, it's kind of neat. As for everything else in this movie...
And it's not only beautiful, really. It's destructive.
What is your choice for the target, Doctor?
Who the f*** is this guy?
Now, when you consider a great majority of movies outside of the Ernest spectrum that I had to review in the past, this one is not the worst. Or is it even awful? But my lord, it is truly bizarre. I should point out that this movie is rather hard to find a physical copy of. The DVD goes for insane prices, and the streaming versions are cropped widescreen VHS copies. And there's no way I'm shelling out $250 for this. Supposedly, the original film print for this movie is currently missing, so the only match they have available too is a low-quality VHS copy. But thankfully I was able to find a beta VHS rip online that actually looked a little more cleaner to some of the other versions that I've seen, so hey, when life gives you beta, you make a review out of it. Come to think that maybe this is the first me actually reviewing something on a beta format, but one thing at a time here. Alright, so the plot involves a mad scientist named Dr. Otto, whose distinguishing features include dressing up in a pile of junk, surrounded by tons of equipment made from junk. His evil lair looks like the Chiodo brothers designed a miniature of Skeletor's lair, and a third hand is on top of his head. He plans for world domination by means of damaging the world economy thanks to his Gloom beam, which messes with banks and all sorts of credit cards.
My most destructive invention. When they activate the device, a magnetic ray will be created.
Come to think of it, the fact it's a super-powered magnet is actually kind of clever. Word to the wise, never have your wallet near a super magnet, or all your information will be erased from existence. No joke. Anyway, Dr. Otto provides a riddle as a means for people to stop his device, but instead his arch-nemesis Lance Sterling is sent in to find a way in ending Otto's nefarious stock market crashing. On paper, I can see some of this working. The tone of the movie, in my opinion, is trying to be a satire of spy movies, like James Bond, where the hero is smart, but egotistical and sleazy. Heck, even the villain's plan is almost something akin to Goldfinger by doing some big scheme that messes with the economy. But unless you have a big budget and talented writing, your movie is going to be an awkward sit. Now, we've seen low-budget movies like The Wiz of Speed and Time and Patrick Reed Johnson's 5:25:77, where they can use the limits to their advantage to make something unique. Dr. Otto tries too hard to be a comedy, and something about it feels restricted. Even with those restrictions, they try to do something creative. Like, you can tell a lot of the budget went into the sets of Dr. Otto's lair and some of the rotoscope lightning effects. I'm constantly looking around at certain devices and trying to get a good view of the weird Terry Gilliam-esque look of the set. However, this undermines the rest of the movie when location filming is required, and you see how the sets and sign decoration have a cheapened quality to them. Like, you know they had to spend their budget very carefully and they had to use certain things to their advantage without going overboard. And that's a shame because it has a good opening with the visuals in Dr. Otto's lair, and that's really the only eye-appealing aspect. But hey, maybe the characters can save the experience. And that leads into my other problem. Jim Varney is really trying to work with the material they have, but compared to the later Ernest movies, he's not given a whole lot. They have this aspect to Otto and his nemesis character where they were born on the same day and were raised differently, but that's about it. It's really just one evil character trying to outdo the good guy, and that could work in something like Blake Edwards' The Great Race. But the Otto character is not engaging or funny, and the Lance character is just stereotypical as Wonder Bread. This is easily established in flashbacks where Lance shows his own intelligence as a baby.
Hello, Mother. Hello, Father. I'm so glad you're my parents.
While Otto is a deformed Wienerville puppet raised by a witch-looking character and a fat slob. This could make for some fun material, but it doesn't quite take off. Especially when Otto decides to take his parents out of the picture. Literally. There's even one flashback where they cut to a science fair, and of all the things, Lance originates a voting booth. Really? Of all the jokes you could do, you go for, this guy stands for Superman-style beliefs, so let's do that instead of something absurdly funny like a cure for fatal illness. But a voting booth. A voting booth? Ugh.
Yeah, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Everything's a good idea at the time. Lead in paint was a good idea at the time. Asbestos was a good idea at the time. Nuclear tests you could look at were a good idea at the time.
When we see the Lance character in action, he's really just an egotistical jerk that thinks he's heroic when he's not. The only true hero is the assistant he brings on, who of course is always right all the time. I've seen this character done to death before, and even I admit, this has been handled in much better movies and TV shows like Futurama. It's just a one-note joke character that feels tired and exhausted. Speaking of which, this movie tends to act more like an excuse to show off Varney's acting abilities given the magnitude of characters he plays. Dr. Otto has a device called a changing coffin that allows him to become different people in order to stop Lance from defeating him. Most of these disguises or personas, with the exception of one, never came off to me as funny or even fascinating. There's an Australian training children to be militant, pretty dark but okay, a pirate captain in the swamp, and a wealthy playboy. Because of how short their scenes are, there's not enough material or jokes to breathe any life, and they just come off as dull. Dare I say, this movie feels like a string of sketches loosely pieced together, and it kind of feels that way. It's like I'm watching The Master of Disguise, but with Jim Varney mugging up to the camera. Though, unlike Dana Carvey, if I did have to provide one positive, Varney does carry enough personality to the point he tries to do something with the material given, as opposed to doing impersonations, so I'll give it that much. You can tell Varney is trying to create the essence of a character here and be versatile, as opposed to, say, channeling Al Pacino or Robert Shaw for a quick laugh. A lot of that can be better seen when Otto disguises himself as Auntie Nelda, who arguably I think gets more screen time compared to the other characters Otto disguises himself as.
Well, you little darling, you're blooming. Here. I hope you strangle on it.
There's something of a backstory given, with Nelda being a grumpy senior with family issues and is pessimistic to the bone. Of all the people Varney channels, this one gets so much depth that it nearly steals the show, and she even gets a funny line or two.
Young man, they're going to make me their love slave.
That's the most outrageous thing I've ever heard.
It's no wonder they brought the Nelda character back more than once in other Ernest movies, and even his own Saturday morning TV show, Hey Vern, It's Ernest. Even Dr. Otto got a couple of appearances on that short-lived TV series, which probably says a lot about the character's popularity, considering I don't think Dr. Otto is ported over into any of the Ernest movies. At least the ones I'm familiar with.
It worked. My sinister invention worked.
Burnt toast?
Perfectly burnt toast. Every time. Got any rancid butter?
That is one happy man.
And that leads into my other problem. The comedic elements are really hit and miss. I can't put my finger on whether it's the production quality or style of writing, but the tone and pace really drag. Outside of one or two funny visuals, there's not enough to keep the humor going strong. The only jokes I remember are really random, or at least somewhat clever. I like how we see Otto's lair, and there appears to be, for some reason, a mailbox. Just the fact he has a mailbox shows he has an address, and people must know where he lives, even though they admit they don't. It's so stupid, but I admit it's kind of funny. There's a robot servant Otto has that looks so junky, but the most distinguishing feature, which is just a happy face with different expressions. There's even a moment when it poorly disguises itself as a waiter, and the heroes buy it. It's so simple and dumb, but yet it's kind of funny. There's a whole set piece where Lance is used by the pirate captain as bait to lure out a swamp monster, but is given a prize in return.
What? And what would we have for him, Johnny?
It's a Cabana side-by-side freezer!
Okay, maybe it's the execution or just the reaction of the pirates and robot guy with his face changing, but just something about this one gag alone is actually pretty funny. But even that goes one step further to show the monster and Lance are really good friends and have a connection. So, these are actual good jokes, enough for me to have some sense of respect. It's like they knew it wasn't high art, so they just took what they got and ran with it. But due to how disinteresting the side characters are and the sluggish pace, Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom beam suffers moving along from one scene to the next. And I feel it's due to two things. One, some of the set pieces just drag so it can fill up time as opposed to using it wisely. There's a scene where a damsel is in some kind of trap, causing Lance and his sidekick to go and save her. But the entire scene is stretched out to the point nothing about it feels intense or funny. It's just filler, so the movie can reach the 90-minute running time. In fact, a lot of stuff could have been trimmed down or paced better to the point you could have a serviceable movie at best. And it says a lot when the only true laugh I got out of this was the tagline featured on the back of the VHS box. The funniest thing since the Depression. And the fact that it's comparing itself to one of the biggest, darkest moments in all of American history just tickles my fancy. Compared to the PAL VHS tape, which warns its audience. Even though this movie is meant to be Ernest's first theatrical debut, he's barely in the movie. In fact, he only appears at the very end, and that's it. However, I did read up that when this movie is being toured around in theaters, Jim Varney would appear in character as Ernest to drum up public attention. The movie even opens with Ernest coming across the changing coffin and gets pulled in, somewhat hinting Dr. Otto is Ernest the whole time. Supposedly, this prologue was in some prints of the movie during its limited theatrical run, but I guess the version on some streaming services turned out to be the one without the Ernest beginning. Knowing there are two versions of Dr. Otto with and without the Ernest prologue makes it more fascinating and confusing as to question which one is the theatrical cut. Now there is one other major positive to take away from here, and it's this. That in a way you can almost sense that the filmmakers learned their mistakes from this one and carried it over to the later Ernest movies. So in a strange way you can kind of say that Dr. Otto was sort of a proto-Ernest movie. Think about it. The plots got a little more streamlined and focused, the humor got a little better, and filmmaking definitely improved no matter how limited or limitless the budget got. Kind of, sort of, dependent on the entry. Regardless, I can't hate this movie because without it we wouldn't have any of the other Ernest movies. So it's fair to say that things improved as they went along. But even with that in consideration, Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom beam is still a hot, bizarre mess. Not a good bizarre or a bad bizarre, but just bizarre. There's no other adjective I can think of. I can't write this off as the worst given of what I've seen in the past on this show, but even I can't find myself to fully recommend it either. There are things I do admire, but it's not enough for me to be convinced that you should see this. Not even as a curiosity watch. You're better off checking out the first 4 Ernest movies instead. You'll get your mileage worth out of it. Know what I mean? Final verdict? Skip this and watch Ernest Goes to Jail and Top Secret back-to-back instead. Maybe it's just me, but there's something about that movie I just reviewed that left behind a mental itch that even I can't scratch away. Oh, that's the stuff. Oh, yes. Oh, that's it, yes. Get into that lower lobe of mine. Oh, every childhood fear eradicated. Deep in the doula madlam gut of my... Wait a minute. If my own two hands are right here, what the hell am I dealing with? Holy shit!
When the money is scrambled to the very last cent, riots and hatred soon will commence, and all the world's commerce will be put in a bind. Who is this evil that works where the sun never shines? Then you solve it. Please, I know you can't. Just the way. The world is doomed to dark and gloom, and you don't stand a chance. Who has an eye but cannot see? Who is a he? Who is a she?
Cut.
Oh, hello. Auntie Nelda here, Movie Critics Corner. I, along with this unfortunate audience, have just viewed Ernest's new film. And I must say it had its moments. And all of them were bad. Why a budding young filmmaker would risk everything on something so passé as a ninja film, I will never know. The robot, however, though somewhat mechanical, was flawless.
It was terrible, awful, tasteless.
I loved it. I gave it a 3 thumbs up.
Former Beatle George Harrison brings together John Cleese, Sean Connery, Shelley Duvall, Katherine Hellman, Michael Palin, 6 little people, 1 little boy, 2 living gargoyles, a giant, an ogre, Napoleon, Robin Hood, a supreme being, an incarnation of evil, 12 cowboys, 6 flying cowheads, and a device for tripping through time? Answer, Time Bandits, rated PG.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, 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 very much.
The fantasy begins Friday, November 6th at a theater near you.
Hello, ladies. I am here for your daughters.